Sava esha purusha vidha eva tasya purusha vidhatam anvayam purusha vidha tasya priyameva shirah modo dakshina pakshah pramoda uttara pakshah ananda atma. Now we have understood Annamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Is there any other dimension of our life other than these four? Now, this kind of intellectual discussion or philosophical discourse is a Vijnanamaya Kosha, research, scientific research, writing papers, writing PhD thesis, all that kind of thing is Vijnanamaya. But is there any other dimension? And if so, what is it? Can anybody tell?
Anandamaya, sir. Anandamaya Kosha.
Happiness, bliss. So he is explaining the Anandamaya Kosha. I'm not saying you should accept it is there just because the book says. You should have experiential understanding. In your own experience, on the day a person gets his PhD degree, or on the day he got a result of particular exam, or on the day a son is born, or on the day you have achieved a promotion or something like that, how happy you will be. That happiness is a body by itself. It is neither Annamaya, nor Pranamaya, nor Manomaya, nor Vijnanamaya. Therefore, it is Anandamaya. So that Anandamaya has very surprisingly has wings like Moda. Moda is pleasure, entertainment as right hand, and Pramoda, even greater entertainment. Moda is just happiness. Pramoda is excessive happiness, is left hand. And Ananda Atma, the nature of the self is Ananda. So, the Anandamaya Purusha, who is there, that means Purusha full of Ananda. So, 5 we have seen, 5 bodies, 5 koshas. Maya means full of that. Understanding directs now. The deeds are also directs. Verily, other than that, within that one that consists of understanding is self, that consists of Ananda, bliss. By that, this is filled. That one verily has the form of a person. According to that one's personal form in this one, with the form of a person, pleasure, Priya is the head, delight, Moda is the right side, and greater delight, Pramoda is the left side. And bliss, Ananda is the body, the self. Brahma is the lower part, the foundation. So I'm sure all of you experienced Anandamaya Kosha whenever you heard something very good, something very you enjoyed. Asanneva sabhavati asad brahmeti veda chet. Now, assimilation either to the original or to the derivative Brahman, which one knows. Non-existent asat himself does not one become. If he becomes, that Brahman is known. Now, can you say asat is only truth? Like Buddhists say, non-existence. Asat eva na bhavati. Asmad asat brahmet veda chet. Brahmet chet veda. Mantamenam tato viduriti. Tasyesha eva sharira atma ya purvasya dhato anuprashna. Uta vidvanum lokam pretya kaschana gacchati. Aho vijnanam lokam pretya kaschit samasnuta. Puso kamayata bahubhyam bahusyam prajayayati. Now, non-existence cannot become existence. If he knows that Brahman is non-existent, if one knows that Brahman exists, such a one, they know it that as existent. So existence is the nature of Brahman, Sat. This indeed is the bodily self. Who reaches the Brahma world of bliss? Question. The answer is now next does anyone know who knows not? On deceasing, that means on death, go where? This is the question what Nachiketa asked to death, Yama. Or is it that anyone who knows on deceasing attains yonder world? All plurality and antithesis of existences developed from an original and still immanent unity. He desired. Now he's explaining how creation took place. Now God desires Bahusyam Prajayayeti. Let me become many. So multiple duplicates are created. Having performed tapasya, he created this whole world. Whatever is here, having created it, into it indeed he entered. That is tatsrutva tadeva anupravishan. Tatsrutva tadeva anupravishat. Having created, he entered into it. Now the Muslims and Christians, they think God created the universe and he has nothing to do with universe. Universe is separate, God is separate. If that is the case, then universe is independent of God. It is not true, because God himself has manifested as universe. He created and entered into it. That is the main difference of philosophical position of monotheistic religion, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam versus Hinduism, Sikhism, and all these Vedic religions. They all believe that God created the universe and entered into it. So every manifestation is manifestation of God. Having entered, he became both the actual Sat and Yontya, both the defined Nirukta and undefined, both based and non-based, and both conscious Vijnana and unconscious, both real Satya and the false Anruta. As real, he became whatever there is here. That is what they call as real. So what you see in front of you as universe is nothing but manifestation of God. That's what in the Bhagavad Gita also he showed in the Vishwarupa. Whatever you can think of, you see in me, Arjuna, he says. It is beautifully explained here that whatever be learned persons observed unbiased is certainly true. The question arises as to whom we can say the learned person. Whether the invader, the torturer, the terrorist, or the evildoers can be said as learned persons. Certainly not, because here is always found a sheer difference between activities, the routine, the behavior, etc. of a learned person and the shrewd one, whose mind is involved in performing great deeds, will certainly ponder upon the philanthropy and his acts still definitely benevolent, however much or less in proportion to his caliber and capacity both. When this is the position, the statements or the advices given by them will certainly be for the welfare of mankind. Now this is an important point. In our Vedas and Upanishads, nowhere it is said that only Hindus or Indians should be happy and all others should be condemned. Aisa kuch nahi hai. There is never encouragement to go and invade others and go and torment others. Never. In any of these books, hundreds of books are there. Such exhortations of tormenting your enemies and your non-believers are available in other books of other religions, but not in Hindu scriptures. Because he considered the whole humanity as one family. Vasudhaika Kutumbakam. So that being the case, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu, like this they kept on saying. So the position, the statements, advices given by them will be certainly for the welfare of the entire mankind. How well learn the Veda, for example, the Rig Veda, the Upanishads, they're meant for the entire mankind. That's why I was telling you in the beginning that even though today we may have many, many branches, Sikhism or Vaishnavism or Lingayats and this and that, but they all have roots in the same root, that is Upanishads and Vedas. They all agree to it. So the point is that the variations will come naturally as entropy. In expansive world, entropy keeps on expanding. There will be variations and diversions, but the original root is the same. I gave you the example of, suppose there is one person like Gorakhnath was there, and he was there 500 years ago. Today, entire Gorakhpur, most of the people are his own descendants. I was told. It is surprising. Hundreds of people, thousands of people, lakhs of people. It happens over centuries. So that way you go back in time, all these different forms of religious books or scriptural philosophical books, they all came out of one source only finally, and that one source is Vedas and Upanishads. How a learned person develops his career to realize the truth has been compared here with the systemic efforts of God. God wished to appear in countless features with a view to fill this necessity. The Almighty did penance the learned person who also involved themselves in sheer exertion. However, as God has many features and people have different faiths in him, a learned person also has different identities in the public. Everyone observes him in the light of his activities. A thief will certainly imagine him as a thief, while a businessman as businessman, while a man with, supposing all the crows want to imagine their God, they will make a big crow as an image and say, this is God. So if you go to Japan, you will find Lord Buddha in a Japanese form, in China in Chinese form. But actually Buddha was born in India, as an Indian, or say Nepal. So it is a question of their perception. So that's why in the Bhagavad Gita also and in Upanishads, we accept all different perceptions and versions and interpretations. Everyone observes him in the light of activities. A thief will certainly imagine him as a thief, and a businessman as businessman, while man about whom are different identities is Rishi person, always unvariated in his nature and the deeds performed by him. Asadva idamagra asi tato vai sadajayata. Asadva idamagra. Initially, it was non-existence that existed, and from that came existence. Tadatmanah swayamakrita tasmat sukrutam iti yadvai tat sukrutam raso vaisaha rasasyevayam lagvanandi bhavati ko hyovan अन्यात् कः प्राण्यात् यदेष आकाश आनन्दो न स्यात् एष ह्येवानन्दयति यदा ह्यवैष एतस्मिन् अदृश्येनान्त्ये अनिरुक्ते अनिलयने अभयं प्रतिष्ठां विन्दते अथ सोऽभयं गतो भवति यदा ह्यवैष एतस्मिन् उदरमन्तरं कुरुते अथ तस्य भयं भवति तत्त्वैव भयं विदुषो आम्नन्वानस्य तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. The original self developing non-existence, the essence of existence and the whole soul basis. In the beginning, it was non-existent. Therefrom came existence, being, sat. That made self swayamakurta as soul, atman. Therefore it is called well done, sukruta. Verily, that well done is verily the essence, rasa. Raso vaisaha. Rasa actually means ananda rasa. You know, we have different rasas, the experiences. For truly on getting the essence, one becomes blissful. So that experience of the essence become blissful. For who indeed would breathe? For who indeed live? If there is not for this bliss in space. If there was no bliss, nobody would like to live. There is some kind of happiness in something. For truly this essence cause bliss. For truly one finds fearlessness as foundation in which is invisible, bodiless Atma, undefined, non-based, and he has reached fearlessness. So one of the characteristics of a self-realized soul is fearlessness, abhayam. In 16th chapter, abhayam sattva samshuddhi. Then however one makes a cavity, an internal therein, then he comes to have fear. But that indeed is a fear of one who thinks of himself as a knower. It has been told in these hymns that prior to become an apparent deed, the human mind gets the information and merge it with the perceptions, and only thereafter the concerned activity is performed. The nature of Prakriti in its micro sense reveals the mental world of mankind. The Indian jurisprudence also accepts the fact that prior to determining the gravity of crime, it is essential to measure or investigate the proportionate guilty of the concerned accused. What is intangible is the premier thing that gives birth to the tangible. However, while tangible form, the process goes on and thought is organized in which the result is the deed which can be observed later. By virtue of the preaching through these hymns, it has been told that however intangible, but one should reform it so that its result, the tangible one, is appreciated by the concerned society. Bhisha smadvatah pavate bhishodeti suryah भीषास्मादग्निश्चेन्द्रश्च मृत्युर्धावति पञ्चम इति सैषा आनन्दस्य मीमांसा भवति युवा स्यात् साधु युवाद्य. Okay, now we'll come to that. Before that, he says everything happens by fear. So the fear, by fear the sun rises, by fear the wind breeze comes, by fear the Agni burns. Fear of what? Fear of something. And you know why people work in jobs? They work in fear only. Otherwise, nobody will do anything. Fear of something, either death or birth or food or job, whatever, or person, whatever it is. And even death also, mrityu as fifth, do speed along. That also runs out of fear, works out of fear. The gradation now. Here there's a next topic, which is the Ananda grades. Now, you know, we know that For everything there is a gradation. Like supposing you take education, then you will say KG class, then primary school, high school, college, degree, post graduation, PhD, postdoctoral fellowship, assistant professor, associate professor, professor, senior professor, emeritus professor. These are all grades in education. And similarly in money, in everything there are grades. And now he is going to talk of grades in Ananda. So he is talking, let us take a very energetic young man. Yuva syat, sadhu yuva adhyayaka, asishto, dridishto, balishta. Very strong, very lovable, very hopeful, very positive, and young. Just imagine such a person. And also imagine that he is a king. So he's having everything possible. So that is, say, one unit of Ananda, Manushananda. Now he says, Te ye shatam manushanandah sa eko manushya gandharvanam ananda. 100 such anandas will be experienced by one Manushya Gandharva. Who is a Manushya Gandharva? Like all the great singers, M.S. Subbulakshmi or various singers. They get 100 times more ananda than a perfectly blissful, normal human being. And Srotriyasya Akamahatasya. And a Srotriya Akamahata also will get that. That means Srotriya means a person who has studied the Shrutis and a person who has no desires. A person who is well versed in Shrutis is called Srotriya. And Akamahatasya, he is not hurt by any desires. That person also will get that 100 times. And now if you take that Manushya Gandharva unit as one, and then if you multiply it 100, Deva Gandharvas are like that. In Devaloka, in heaven, there are singers, musicians, who will have 100 times greater bliss than this Manushya Gandharva. And Sayeka Pitrunam Chiralokalokanam Ananda. And then 100 times that is somebody in Pitruloka. And Srotriyasya Chakamahatasya. And at the same year, Brahmanishtha, Srotriya and Akamahata, that means not having any desires and well versed in Shruti, is also having equivalent Ananda because he is freed from any problems. Te ye shatam pitrunam chiraloka lokanam ananda. If you take the Pitruloka Ananda, one as one unit, Sayeka ajanajanam devanam ananda. That will be equal to one Deva, divine person, angel. And Srotriyasya Akamahatasya is also like it. Te ye shatam ajanajanam devanam ananda. Sayeka karma devanam ananda. Among devas, there are different levels. Karma devas are 100 times the ordinary deva is the karma deva ananda. Ye karmana devanapi yanti srotriyasya chakamahatasya. Again, that level also srotriya and akamahatasya. Ye te shatam karma devanam ananda. 100 times that also. Sa eko devanam ananda. Srotriyasya akamanatha. Te ye shatam devanam ananda. The divine, the angels, devatas ananda is 100 times that. Sa eka indrasya ananda. So Indra, who is the lord of devas, it will be equivalent to 100 devanandas. And Srotriyasya Akamahatasya is also like that. Te ye shatam indrasya ananda. If you take 100 times Indra's ananda, sa eko Brihaspate ananda. Indra's guru Brihaspati is one unit. Hundreds of 100 equivalent of Indra's ananda. And also Srotriyasya Akamahatasya. Te ye shatam Brihaspate ananda. Those who have 100 times, if you count 100 times Brihaspati's ananda, that is Prajapati's ananda. And again, Srotriya Bhakamhatasya is also at that level. Ye shatam Prajapate ananda sayeko Brahmana ananda. 100 times Prajapati's ananda is one Brahma's ananda. And Srotriyasya Jakamhatasya is also Sayaschayam Purushe Yascha Savaditye Sayekaha Sa evam vit Asman Lokat Pretya एतमन्नमयम् आत्मानम् उपसंक्रामति एवं मनोमयम् आत्मा प्राणमयम् आत्मानम् उपसंक्रामति एवं मनोमयम् आत्मानम् उपसंक्रामति एतं विज्ञानमयम् आत्मानम् उपसंक्रामति एतमानन्दमयम् आत्मानम् उपसंक्रामति तदेष्य श्लेष श्लोको भवति. So a person will transcend the level of Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha and reach the Brahmanamaya Kosha. Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasasaha, where the words cannot reach, the mind cannot grasp. Anandam Brahmano Vidwan, that is Brahmananda, the absolute Brahmananda. Na vidhet kutaschaneti etaha vavanahasti kimaham साधुनकारवत् किमहं पापमकारवमिति स एव विद्वानेति आत्मनं स्पृणुते उभे ह्यवेश एते आत्मनं स्पृणुते य एवं वेदा इत्युपनिषत्सु. This is ninth chapter is over. This is Anandavalli is over. Tomorrow is Bhruguvalli. We will take up Bhruguvalli tomorrow. But today it is worth mentioning that the attainment of pleasure is not merely possible when one uses sufficient estate and property. He needs a supreme personality by all four corners. In succeeding hymns, this pleasure is classified in degrees or duly categorized. The Rishi has envisaged repeatedly that this pleasure can only be availed to a person who is enriched of knowledge and get rid of passions or any kind of temptations. He says that the ignorant wanders here and thither by fascinating in the minor feelings of pleasure. Therefore, he can't access the supreme pleasure throughout his life. So, supreme pleasure is Brahmananda, which can be achieved by Shrotriyasya Akamahadas, a desireless, enlightened soul. As the ailing tongue cannot feel the taste of the respective fusion, the mind hung on the passions in the same way cannot feel the taste of supreme pleasure. What is intended through these hymns is a message to human beings that they shouldn't be indulged in the material pleasures because all such kinds of gaieties are momentary and stand in the way to search for the supreme pleasure. Of course, we are not saying don't have these pleasures because they are giving you a taste of what is pleasure. There are people who have no pleasure at all. They are in misery. They are not saying that you should be like that. One should therefore protect him from indulging in the material pleasures which have no longer existence than the bubble of water. And where from the word turns back, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. This I told you to memorize. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bhiveti kutaschaneti. That bliss of Brahman who knows, he will not fear from anything. So that is the end of this Upanishad chapter. The supremacy of knowledge is again stressed upon. It has been said very clearly that the knowledge is like a beam of light that makes the man to know where are the dark places on the loopholes in his personality. Thus, having reckoned with the nature of deeds, either good or evil, he brooms out the great deeds instead of evils. When the deeds are performed so benevolent, why world he lament later on when the consequences are turned upon on the crop of deeds will be ripened. Because whatever fruits you will get will be the fruits of the deeds which you have sown. Again, a learned person has no attachment with the great deeds because he knows that if a slight attachment takes place, it would expect praise from the person or the class of people from whom he had done well. In case the expectation is not fulfilled, either anger or disgust will take place in his heart. On the other hand, if he receives warm appreciation from the public, an ego will certainly insert into his personality, thereby making him egoistic. This is the reason the learned person is never attached with great deeds performed by him and acts on the principles that to do and forgot. Okay, now we open for questions. Tomorrow is the last day.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, while explaining Pranamaya Kosha, you said that Prana is to be worshipped as Brahman.
Yes.
So I heard some kind of word like Pranopasaka, sir. Pranopasaka means doing pranayama, or is that any other way doing Pranopasaka, sir?
Pranayama is the best way, but Pranadevata can be also, Upasana can be done. When you perform Ganesh Puja, you'll be doing Prana Pratishtha, you remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But that the Prana Devata is invoked. Those mantras are invoking the Prana Devata and they're incorporating that Prana Devata into that Ganesh Puja, that Prana Pratishtha, that idol,
Yes, sir.
or even that Haldi. So
Yes, sir.
that
Yes.
Prana is very much there, and Pranopasana is Pranayama is a physical way, But pranopasana is done in whenever the prana is required to be manifest, is required there to be invoked. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
It's a very profound Upanishad, and all these statements are lifetime study materials. Yes, somebody wants to ask a question? Yeah. Truly, we are in the state of Brahmananda. Touched my heart. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir,
Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Vandvatītam Saganasubhitam Atmamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimanam Sarvati. Yes.
sir, experiencing of this Panchakosha, as you have described, it's only through sadhana only, sir.
No. You don't have to do any sadhana to experience your Annamaya Kosha. Have you taken your lunch today?
Yes, sir. No, not yet.
Now you will experience very soon the intensity of the kosha. Okay.
Okay.
Annamaya Kosha also, before eating food, you will start, Are pranam botan pan ayasam vastundi, alsat vastundi, I am dying. I am energetic. Vacha manchi gaal vastundi, pranam lechi vachindi. All this is pranamaya kosha and pranayam also. And Vijnanamaya Kosha is for the last 1 hour, you are in Vijnanamaya Kosha. And without Manamaya Kosha, there is no Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now somebody said he is experiencing Ananda also right now. He says he is thanking me for experiencing Brahmananda right now. I'm so happy. So
Yeah.
we cannot live without experiencing the Panchakosha.
Okay, so it is just an understanding that we have to follow.
No, we are having the experience all the time, non-stop. But we didn't have this dimension of interpretation to understand what it is. Today we got it. Okay? Hello? Hello? Any other question?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay, you understood, no?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
So, the reality is always there. We are continuously experiencing, but we didn't have this intimate understanding, analytical appreciation of what is happening. That is what we got now. Okay, then we'll close it today. Om Shanti Parisaram Shanti Prithvi Shanti Rapash Shanti Roshayat Shanti Vanaspate Shanti Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti 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 Rama Shanti Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Phone moved.
Thank you, sir.